In this lecture, we'll learn how to translate numbers in messages. Another part of localization is translating numbers. Mainly, you will want to do that when working with currencies. The I18N library supports localizing numbers with different currencies. In the resource section of this lecture, I provide a link to the number localization documentation page. Feel free to read up on this page after you're finished with this lecture. Here's what we're going to do. Let's say that we want to begin selling music in our app. We'll need to display the price on the page. On top of that, we'll want to display the price in another currency for Japanese buyers. So we'll need to make the price translatable. The process is almost similar to translating any other string. We need to provide translation messages to the I18N library. After we do that, we can load the translations in the component files. However, there are some discrepancies from regular translations. Firstly, we can't add the translations directly to the locale files. Regular translations and numeric translations must be defined separately. This is because the I18N instance has a separate option for numeric translations. Open the i18n.js file. Down at the bottom where we export the new instance of the I18N object, add an option called Number Formats. This option will be an object containing translations for numbers. If you'd like, you can outsource the translations in a separate file. You don't have to add the translations in the file directly. I won't be doing that because the translations won't take up much space in the file. Numeric translations require a different kind of structure than regular translations. This is why we need to separate the translations. In the object, the first layer needs to be the locales we'd like to add translations for. We're going to add two. The first will be English. The second will be Japanese. Its locale is JA. Next, we need to add the name of the translations. We'll be dealing with currencies. It makes sense to call it currency. Here is where things change. Instead of setting the translation to a string, we need to create an object. The object will hold the settings for how the library should translate the string. There are two settings we'll want to set. The first setting is called style. We'll set it to currency. The style property is used to tell I18N how the numbers will be formatted. Numbers can be formatted in different ways, such as currency, decimals, time, etc. Each of these formats has additional symbols and characters. In our example, we're telling I18N that the number will be formatted to a currency. If we set the style property to currency, we need to add an additional property called currency. The value for this needs to be a supported currency code. Let's switch to the documentation page for a moment. We'll find a description that tells us the library creates a wrapper around the Internationalization API to translate numbers. If we were to click on the link, we'd be taken to a function called number format. This JavaScript function is capable of translating numbers. The I18N library takes advantage of this API to translate your numbers. To be a bit more clear about what's going on, the object you passed in for the translations gets passed onto this function. It's called number format. The object is passed in as the second argument for this function. Therefore, you should refer to the documentation when creating settings for numeric translations. Scroll to the constructor section on this page. There's a link to the function that will provide us with more information about the parameters. Click on it. Next, scroll down to the parameters section. Search for the style parameter. This parameter will have more information about the possible values you can pass into this parameter. Since we're setting the style property to currency, let's check out the description for the currency parameter. It'll say the following. The currency to use in currency formatting. Possible values are the ISO 4217 currency codes, such as USD for the US dollar, EUR for the euro, or CNY for the Chinese RMB. There is no default value. If the style is currency, the currency property must be provided. If we were to click on the link in the description, we'd find additional links for the possible codes we can pass in. To save some time, I'll tell you the codes for the currencies we're using. USD for America, JPY for Japan. Let's go back to our editors. In the i18n.js file, set the currency property to USD. Afterward, we're going to make a copy of this and paste it into the Japanese locale. We'll change the currency property to JPY. The translations will now be available in our components. Let's load them in. Open the song component file. Search for the comment that says Song Info. It'll be in the first section where we added the title and artist of the song. We're going to add the price of the song below the genre. Create a pair of div tags with the class SongPrice. Inside the div tags, add an expression that calls the $end function. The $end function will translate numeric values for you. It comes with 3 parameters, but only the first 2 are required. The first is the number. We didn't store the price, but that's perfectly fine. We can hard code the value. Pass in 1. The second parameter is the name of the translation to use. Set this to currency. Before checking if this works, I want to recap what will happen. By calling the $end function, the i18n library will take our numeric value and translate it. It'll use the translations we created in the numbers format option. The first thing it'll do is pick the locale to use. By default, we have it set to English. The value you pass in for the second parameter will tell it which property to use in the locale. It'll run the translation through the currency object's rules because we're setting the second parameter to currency in the $end function. The rules that we're setting will be passed onto the JavaScript number format function along with the number. We're telling JavaScript that the number should be formatted with a currency. In this example, we're using the USD currency. Let's check out the app in the browser. Underneath the genre, we will see the price adequately formatted with the respective symbols. That's great. Let's say we wanted to change the currency to a different one. Normally, we would have to change the locale, but you don't have to in this case. You can change currencies without updating the locale entirely for the app. Back in the song component file, the $n can accept in a third argument. We can pass in the locale we'd like to use. We'll pass in JA for Japanese. Switching back to the browser, the number will be shown in the Japanese currency. One thing I want to point out is that while the i18n library will help you with changing currencies, it won't properly perform a full conversion. $1 and 1 yen don't hold the same value. You can use Google to help you with conversion between currencies. As you can see, about 100 yen is the same as $1. It's important that you account for this as it can lead to confusion and problems down the road.